Welcome back, everyone, to Common Sense Choices, and I'm Linda Toupin. Well, pull up a chair and join the conversation if you're new to this podcast. We're on Apple and Spotify, so if you're listening driving down the road, maybe keep your eyes on the road and the hands at 9 and 3, but otherwise enjoy the conversation. We're also on YouTube, Common Sense Choices Linda Toupin. We're also on Facebook, Common Sense Choices Linda Toupin. But the very best way to receive every episode of Common Sense Choices is through my website, LindaToupin.com. That's T as in Tom, O-U, P as in Peter, I-N. I've only said that 10 million times in my life. But anyway, if you're brand new, be sure to leave me a comment and let me know this is your very first episode. I want to personally welcome you. For those of you who have followed me through all the episodes since December of 2021, thank you. It is because of you our podcast has been so successful. And so the way this works is really simple. When you comment and you share, then your name goes into a drawing for something fun over at my store, LindaToupin.com. And this week, we will be in the second episode of a big series called When the Smoke Clears, Be the Person Left Standing. And we met Greg Horn in our last episode. We loved Greg, Christian author, minister, and radio host. And we learned that he actually contemplated suicide at one point. And he lost his business, a multi-million-dollar business, and how he came out of that and went on to inspire so many other people. So if you missed that episode, be sure to catch it. And we're going to continue that today with another incredible story. And I can't wait for you to meet our guest speaker today. But before we do, for those of you who are new, our podcast is based on my mantra, which you see over there on a 7-foot piece of art in my living room. And most of you know it by heart. So say it with me and say it with conviction. I am where I am by the choices I have made or I have allowed others to make for me. Cleansing breath in, cleansing breath out. I am where I am by the choices I've made or I've allowed others to make for me. And so this podcast is all about personal responsibility. If you woke up this morning and you weren't excited about your life, then look in the mirror. We don't live in a third world country. We live in the greatest country in the world. And you're going to hear that from my guest speaker today. But guys, if you don't like your life, the direction it's going, or you want to make an improvement in your life, don't blame other people for your lack of doing so. Don't blame your husband. You married him, or your wife. Don't blame your children. Goodness gracious. We should never blame our children for the lack of excitement or direction in our life, because that's a horrible burden to put on children. And don't blame your boss. You choose to go there. And I don't know if you know this, but in 2023, you can kind of have a lot of jobs. So every episode of Common Sense Choices is about personal responsibility. Well, today I want to share with you a few quick, fun announcements. But before we get into it, we need a winner, because remember, every time you comment and every time you share an episode, your name goes into the drawing for something fun. And we have a winner from last week's episode with Greg Horn. So can we have a drum roll, please? Joyce Parker. Hey, Joyce. Joyce shared the episode actually more than once. And so Joyce will be receiving a special gift from me at LindaToupin.com. Speaking of my website, let's head over there right now. And I have a big announcement. Most of you know I've had a store connected with my website and this podcast since the beginning, but I brought the store home so that I could touch every item. I've kind of gone in the shipping business. And before I change my mind or go financially broke, I have a big announcement for you. For those of you shopping in my store for anything with our mantra on it. So what has our mantra on it? Coffee mugs. Look in your cabinet right now. Do you have a coffee mug that reminds you you are where you are by the choices you've made? Or perhaps you have a magnet on your kitchen refrigerator with our mantra. Or maybe when you kick your feet up at night, on the bottom of your no-show socks. And on the top, it says, I make wise choices. Or you have it on an 8x8 canvas print. Now, these have been enormously popular. It's our most popular item because these can go on those cute little stands you get down at Target or Hobby Lobby, or you can put them on the wall of your classroom or your office, or put them in various places in your home, or give them as gifts. And I'm excited to announce a new item over at my store. It is a bank or money bag, but you can also use it for accessories. It's in rose gold or white with the word choices, and it's really heavy duty zipper. And so you can like put all of your phone chargers and all of your accessories in one, or if you run a business, this can be your bank bag. It's plenty big enough for sales tickets. So check it all out. But the big announcement, since I moved my store home, is on the screen right now, free shipping. I know. Now, before I change my mind and think that was a dumb idea, you need to hurry on over there, because I'm sure you've kind of figured out that you kind of need to mortgage your house if you go to UPS anymore. It's quite expensive. So we are offering free shipping for all orders over $40. Now, if you order under $40, it is a flat $5 fee. So you know how much it's going to cost you to get the item. So head on over to lindatoupin.com. Before we meet our guest speaker today, we want to give a shout out to our two sponsors. First of all, Curtis.Pink. You see it on the screen, Curtis.Pink. Been in my life for 20 years. Great guy. Very few people in the universe know how to teach and help you with technology. Lots of people know how to do it, but most people within the first 2 minutes go over your head and you don't even know what they're talking about anymore, but not Curtis. Patient, kind. So anytime you want to throw that phone or knock your computer off your desk before you go doing damage, go to Curtis.Pink. For the first 10 minutes is free. He comes into your device. Like, I know it's kind of creepy, but he comes into your computer and comes into your phone and shows you how to do what it is you don't know how to do or what you're having trouble with. Now, when you sign up for Curtis.Pink, he says, how did you hear about me? I want you to remember my face. Remember my face and remember my name. So he knows that Linda Toupin sent you. We do a little bartering. He's good at technology. I need help with technology. And so I advertise for him. It's the way of the world. The second sponsor is no stranger to this podcast. She's made 3 appearances. It's my personal integrated functional doctor, Dr. Lena Edwards. You can find her at drlenaedwards.com. And, Dr. Edwards is an expert, author, teacher of teachers of female, male hormone stress-related issues. Female hormone stress-related issues. Okay, I just described everybody probably watching this. And over time, she began to prescribe supplements. And so she thought, you know what, I can do this myself. And so she put together the supplements that she felt best addressed those issues. And that product is called AdrenaFem, AdrenaFem, AdrenaFem. They have a new website, AdrenaFem. It makes it easy, doesn't it? AdrenaFem.com. It's on your screen, and you will have a discount code for your very first bottle. It's all caps, gift for, that's the number, me, gift for me. All right, check it out, $5 off. Everybody, go over and read the testimonials. If you're saying, well, what specifically does it address? Now, come on, people, you're not going to take a pill and solve all your problems. Let's get clear on this. This is a supplement to help with the symptoms of hormone and stress-related issues. So everybody's different. That's why I love those testimonials. For Linda Toupin, it helps me with 3 things. Quality of sleep. I meet with Dr. Edwards every year, have for 13 years. And this year I said, man, she said, how's your sleep? I said, it's amazing right now. And I don't know why. Like ever how I lay down in bed, I wake up in the same position, 8 to 10 hours later. How does that happen? And she said, what'd you change? I said, AdrenaFem is the only thing I changed this year. So it helps me with that. The other one is I took one this morning because it helps clear the fog. I don't know if you know this, but when you get older, you get a little foggy. All right. And then I take a second one in the afternoon just to kind of give me that little burst of energy. But as you read the testimonials, you'll see that it helps different people in different ways. And, some of you are on your 22nd bottle and some of you haven't even tried it yet. So give it a shot. $5 off on your first bottle, gift for me. Okie dokie. Well, we're, as I said, beginning a series called When the Smoke Clears, Be the one left standing. These are stories of people who've done amazing things with their life and had bad things happen to them. But yet they've come through on the other side, still standing and inspiring other people. And the woman you're about to meet is no stranger to things happening, but yet she came through them all and was left standing, inspiring hundreds and thousands of other people. I cannot wait for you to meet her. Let's hear about her, first of all, from her accolade sheet. In 1979, I know some of you weren't born then, Gillian Ortega moved to the United States from Ireland. You'll still hear a little bit of that Irish to her voice. And you know what? She had $20 in her pocket, but she had the American dream in her heart. Didn't that just kind of give you cold chills? $20 in her pocket and the American dream in her heart. She came from a one-parent household where her loving mother imparted to her courage, independence, and a fierce fire to champion change and transformation. And that is exactly what she did. The path was not always smooth, but her journey was very certain. Every dream has a destination, and every destination has a beginning. Don't you just love that sentence? Let me read that one to you again. Every dream has a destination, and every destination has a beginning. Her beginnings were humble. Her first paying job when she arrived in America was that of a nanny, and she earned $20 a week for that job. Soon after, she became a professional cheerleader. You know what? I don't think I knew that about you, Gillian. And upon furthering her education, was recruited as a systems operations manager. I cannot see you running a systems operations manager. Anyway, for a successful company in Kansas City, Missouri. After marrying her husband, Vince, who is the deputy chief of police, who just got a big honor. I guess we'll hear about that, in Kansas City, Missouri in 1982, and she later gave birth to her son, Vincent Jr. Gillian began to feel the tug of God in her heart to dedicate more time to nurturing and caring for her family, and her dreams, combined with God's call to her, expanded beyond a local reach and pulled her into a global impact. She found herself in the position of destiny inside a direct sales company, AmerICAN. In less than 12 years, she realized her dream and reached the pinnacle of success and achieved the highest ranking in that company. She set company sales records, won numerous awards, and mentored thousands of people around the globe. She is an international known author of her book, It's Not Where You Start, It's Where You Finish. You can find that on Amazon. Go ahead and write that down. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. It's available in 4 different languages. It is an inspiring account of her journey where she shares 10 sales principles and real-world common sense advice that will help everybody achieve more success. Following her retirement from that sales company, she began a new business adventure. That's the story of our lives. And 65 and 60, you guys, is just the beginning for those of you in that age range out there. And she started that business adventure with her husband and her son for Online Sales Pro, which is a digital marketing and business development company. Many might say it was the luck of the Irish. You know, this is so appropriate. We're filming this right around St. Patrick's Day. That has allowed Gillian to achieve so much, but her character demonstrates that it really was her faith in God and her love for her family and an innate determination to reach her dreams, a positive attitude, no matter the challenge, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. Hence, why when the smoke cleared, she was still standing. Welcome to our March Irish episode, our very own. Let me bring her to the screen and ask her to unmute our beautiful guest today, Gillian Ortega. Hey, girl.
Hey, Linda. Thank you. Oh my gosh, when you were reading it, I'm like, did I do all that? Yeah.
Well, you know what? I've known you for many decades, and I know that you did that.
Well, you are amazing. What a mentor you were to me, you know, and I would say this to the audience. I'm excited that it's the day before St. Patrick's Day that you're watching this, right?
Well, you know, I didn't think about that when I did it, but how appropriate for for me and for you to be on the show and to speak to everybody. So you're in Kansas City, Missouri. So how's the weather out there today?
The weather today is a little chilly. And of course, Kansas City are the Super Bowl champs. So I do have a replica of the ring. Just saying.
You do?
I do. Can you see it?
So you're a big Kansas City Chief fan.
Yes. Yes. Chiefs Kingdom. Woo!
Well, I did go over to your Facebook page and trolled a little bit. And I thought, dang, she's a big fan.
Yes, we take it serious for sure.
Yeah, but isn't it wonderful to rally around excellence? And people need a point of excellence, something they can take stock in. I live 7 minutes from Rupp Arena, the home of the Kentucky Wildcats. And people buy their NCAA Final Four tickets a year in advance because they just stay there. Well, now tell us a little bit about your family. We read that, Vince, in fact, let's just start at the beginning.
Okay.
Because I always love your story of how you met him. So let's just forget telling me about your family right now. You were born in Ireland. Where in Ireland?
Cork City.
And you're going to find this interesting. I didn't even talk to you about this before we started recording. I've been taking a deep dive into Ancestry.com.
Yes.
My maiden name is Chestnut. And, you have three other main lines coming out, and one is Deaton, and one is Hacker, which is German. And then I just lost my train of thought. Okay, Hacker, Deaton, Chestnut, and Hamilton, which is a very famous line. You get Mayflower people, you get to the kings and the earls and all that stuff in that line. But the Chestnut line actually started. Is it Atrium in Ireland? It's that northern
Antrim. Northern part of Ireland. Yeah.
I found that out. And I was like, and they filmed the Game of Thrones there.
Yeah. Yes. So that's part of your heritage? See, I always knew we had a connection.
Okay. So start at the beginning. Tell us all about where you were born and start the story.
Okay. Well, I was born in Cork City, but I want to take you back a little bit because I think your title, I love it, Linda. When the smoke clears, be the one left standing. Well, back in the day, I won't even tell you the year, but when my mom married my father, she thought that she would have the perfect life and nothing would ever be out of order. And I'm sure a lot of the audience members think the same. And of course, life happens, right? So she wanted to have an Irish family, a big Irish family. And on the delivery table with her first child, she suffered a stroke. So that rendered her handicapped for the rest of her life. But she had a dream, Linda. So going back to your title, the doctor said, don't have any more children because you probably will die. She had open heart surgery right after as well, after delivering the baby. So, but my mom was very tenacious and she wanted that dream to become her reality, and I always share with everybody, there's so many people in life that want a testimony, but they don't want a test and all they have is the monies. So they moan about things, but they don't want to go through the test. So my mom, being the tenacious woman she is, went on to have 5 more children. So she had 6 children and only one side of her body worked. The other side was paralyzed pretty much. Yeah, but she had a dream. And I learned so much from her. Her tenacity was unmatched. I can't even imagine changing a diaper with one hand. My father owned his own business. He was an entrepreneur. He built actually the first Audis in Cork City in his factory. Unfortunately, he wasn't very good with money. He wasn't a good money manager, and his business started failing. And he would come home and take that out of mom. So mom was a victim of domestic violence, and we are children of a domestic violence home. My father passed away at 42 from that. and left my mom with nothing because mom had to sell the business and sell everything. But she was determined to stay standing, even on her one good leg, Linda. And she was amazing. Wow. Yeah.
I don't even think I knew all of this. I knew part of this. And I want to go back before we even go any further, because so many nuggets here. What did you say about testimonial? I have never heard that. Everybody wants a testimony.
Right, exactly. You know, everybody wants to be on a pedestal, right? We all do, but it doesn't just happen naturally. So I heard this from Joyce Meyer. I have to give her the credit. I love her shows and her podcast too. And she said, everybody in this life wants a testimony. We all want a dream, but nobody wants a test, and all they have is the monies. So they complain, you know, like I can't even imagine my mom even cooking dinner, you know, with one hand, but she did. She got around. And when dad died, you know, and left her penniless, he didn't have life insurance. So I would say to everybody, get life insurance. I don't sell life insurance, but get some insurance. And left my mom, she had to actually apply for a widow's pension. It was called in Cork. It was $87.50 a week. She had to raise all of us on that, Linda. I don't even know how she did that, but she never made us feel poor, though. She had the best attitude, and your attitude will determine your altitude every single time. I actually made a CD on that one, too. Attitude equals your attitude equals your success. And I learned that from her, to have a great attitude, even with meager amounts of groceries. You know, we had sugar on bread and butter and bread a lot, potatoes a lot in Ireland. But she never made us feel less than. She was amazing.
Wow. And, you know, I did not know the part that after the stroke, she had 4 more children. Now, where are you? 5 more after the stroke. Right. So where are you in that birth order?
I am the middle. I'm number 3. Okay. She wanted to have a boy, so she kept going until she got her boy, and she got William is number 5, and then she thought she'd give him a companion. She had 1 more, and she had a girl, and she stopped. And that's a praise Jesus moment, because I don't know how she did it. I have no idea.
Oh my goodness, I am inspired already. So we have this home, we have all of these people. She's doing this on her own. And so how did it come for you out of all of that to want to even come to America?
Well, that's a really good story. And Mom, again, we had a little black and white television set. And back in the day, some of you weren't even born yet, there was Chips and Dallas, Dynasty on American TV, and we had a little black and white television set that we saw the shows, and Chips was my favorite. And I dreamt about coming to America and meeting him, Erik Estrada. I wanted to meet Erik Estrada and marry him. I was going to marry him. So I told my sisters, I said, you can't have him. He can't be your boyfriend. He's mine. So we'd play little games like that, you know, so that's really when the seed got planted. And I have to show you something before I forget. Erik Estrada sent me this.
No.
Yes. And on it, he heard the story through another consultant, and he goes, to Gillian, love to you, my favorite.
Oh, my word.
Got a punch. Isn't that something?
Well, but I know it's the power of our words. It's what we put out in the universe. It's what we think about. Well, see, everybody who watches this podcast knows that I'm in love with Mike Rowe. And like, it's a matter of the right person who knows Mike Rowe, telling Mike Rowe that his soulmate is sitting here in Lexington, Kentucky. But keep going. I'm so sorry. Okay.
No, I think it's awesome. The power of a dream is amazing, you know. That's why I title so many of the things that I speak about $20 in a dream, because of that dream and watching that TV set. My mom didn't have 42 pennies for me to go on a field trip at school. And I came home one afternoon, and for the first time in my life, I saw her cry. And I was probably 13 or so. And I remember looking at her, Linda, and saying, you know what, Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to do something big, and you're never going to feel this pain again. And we had a cup of tea, you know, and sat around and had our own little chat about my dream. And I said, I want to go to America. I want to go to America because I know in America I could make it because I seen it on TV and I was going to meet Eric anyway, right? So mom just smiled and along the way, and it's what you manifest, what you put out into the world is going to come back to you like a boomerang. And when I was almost 18, there was a couple in the United States that needed an in-home nanny. And they got my name through other friends of mine. And we were in a group of singers and dancers. And that was a free program that my mom enrolled me in, the Montfort Singers and Dancers. And because of that connection, then I met this couple and they said, would you come for a year to the United States, like right out of high school? And I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, this is it. It's happening. And she looked at me, she goes, no, I don't want you to leave. And because I was the middle child, I was the one that was pumping up tires and putting out fires, and cooking for Mom and taking care of her and making sure she was all right. And, but she finally gave in and she said, okay, but promise me you'll come back in a year. Well, that was back in 1979. But she gave me her last 20 pounds, or they would call it like 20 quid, like in Ireland. So for this case, $20. Okay, it's pretty much equal now anyway. But she gave me the $20 to leave and to have pocket change for whatever I needed. And so my question to the audience is, how many of you want my $20? And I bet you everybody would say yes. And why? What do you think, Linda? Why would they want it?
Well, because if it's attached to you, it's attached to a dream, and it's money as a result of that.
Ooh, I like that. I like that answer. I haven't heard that one yet. And I've said this a lot. So it's got value, right?
Right.
It has value. So you can spend it and buy 2 Starbucks, maybe.
Maybe.
Right. Maybe. Right. And so it has value. But how about I crumple it up? Do you still want it?
It still spins. It still spins.
Still spins. Still has value.
Yeah.
So if I threw it on the floor and if I danced on it, would you still want it?
Sure.
Because
it still spins.
It still spins. It's got value. So every single person watching this podcast, you have your own story and you have value. And I want you to know that today. And Jeremiah 29:11 states it very clearly. I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And isn't that awesome? That $20, you have value. It doesn't matter where you are right now. It does not matter. I got on that airplane. I left everybody I knew in my country and flew 5,000 miles away at 18.
Incredible.
Now, I don't know how many people would do that. They probably would today, but back in those days, we didn't have cell phones. I couldn't call my mother. Didn't have computers.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world of difference between 2023 and 1979. There is a world of difference in just your ability to communicate. We had no internet, so you had to write a letter or make a long distance call, which was very expensive.
Exactly. And of course, I couldn't do that. I didn't have money, to do it. But the couple that I was with, Charlie Wachinski, she's just a dear friend today. She would definitely, get me on the phone once a month or so that I had that connection. But it was very lonely. But I had a dream. So when your why makes you cry, because I sure cried a lot that first day I left my mother and my sisters and my brother and my cousins and my family. When your why makes you cry, you'll do it. And my mother was my why. Also, Ponch was my why. He was my second why. And we lived, here's where the dream becomes reality. Linda, this was so cool. They lived next door to a husband and wife, and he was a police officer.
Okay, so the couple you're nannying for that flew you to the United States, I assume they paid for that. They flew you there. So they live next door to a police officer.
Yes. And so
It's real interesting.
it's so interesting because I was sitting out on the stoop the following day, with the little girl, and I was crying because I was missing home. I really was second guessing my decision, and there was no way back. So once you decide, you cannot be denied. The neighbor comes over. Her name's Jackie, and we're great friends still today. And she sat down. She said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Because I'm homesick." So I told her my whole story. And she said, "Well, do you want to meet an American man?" And I said, "Yes, I've been dreaming about one forever." And I told her that story about watching TV with her family because we didn't have money to go out. And so she said, "All right, so come with me tonight. I'm going to bring my husband his dinner, and then I'll introduce you to this guy. He's tall, blonde hair, blue-eyed." And I said, "No, no, that is not in my dream." And I'm like, "No, I want Punch." Is there any single, like tall, dark, and handsome? She goes, "Gillian, I know I don't know you," but she said, "Show up. Just come on. Come with me." So I went, and this guy, this is so funny. He got called out on a call, because they were all taking their e-call, which means that they were taking their lunch, but it was late at night. It was like 8 or something like that. And so he got called out on some kind of homicide or something. And so he wasn't there when we got there. And part of me was just like so excited. And then I said, "See, Jackie, I wasn't meant to meet him." Along comes another squad car, just like I saw on Chips. And that window went down just like I saw on Chips. And my heart literally skipped a beat because I looked inside that window and I thought, "Oh my gosh, Jackie, that's Punch." And she just lost it. She said, "You have just come off an airplane from Ireland." She goes, "That's Vince Ortega. That is not Punch." I said, "Well, he sure looks like him, and I'm going to marry him." That's the man that God has saved for me.
That is incredible.
Right? And he gets out of his squad car, comes around to meet me, and he's just infatuated. I'm from Ireland and all that. So the short version of that story is we started dating for 3 years, and then we got married, and we've been married for this year. It'll be 41 years.
And he's such a great guy. We all know him.
A great guy.
In the world. And
his picture is over there.
With a lot of awards. So tell us briefly about what he does.
Oh my gosh. Well, he was in the police force, of course, for 30 years. And he was the first Hispanic ever to hold the position of deputy chief, that second in command of our city of 1.75 million people. So he went from officer, he was just an officer when I met him, and he was actually making $12,000 a year. We look back at all his paychecks because they put that together when you retire as deputy chief. And they close off all the streets in Kansas City, and they escort him home. Wow. So he had light sirens, he had motorcycles, all kinds of things. And it was funny because President Bush was in town at the same day that Vince retired, and everybody thought that we were the presidential parade. And he's that big a deal, So he definitely followed his dream. Vince, he pursued so many things. He's had so many awards. If I showed them to you, we'd be on here for hours. But he's the most phenomenal, caring, loving person. And I was very blessed to meet him. He fell in love with my mother. My mom didn't want me to get married. So Vince wrote her a letter because back then we had no text and he didn't know her yet. So he didn't call her. So he wrote her a letter asking if he could marry me. And he sent her an airline ticket on TWA. Do you remember TWA?
Yes.
She comes to America for the first time the year before we got married. And so Vince, of course, they wheel her off of the airplane in a wheelchair, Linda, because she couldn't really walk very well. And so Vince went to hug her, and she stood up and embraced him, and it was over. Like, she fell in love with him like I fell in love with him. It was so amazing, and she kept that letter all those years. And when she passed away on my birthday, and which was incredible, 5 years ago. And she had kept that letter, and she wanted Vince to have that letter back when she passed, to know
Wow.
how much she loved him.
Oh my gosh.
Ah, I know. I'm going to have to, they say, squeeze your butt cheeks if you're going to cry.
Oh my gosh, my audience is in love with you, Gillian. They're absolutely in love with you.
Oh,
What an incredible story. And so now you all have a son, Ben.
yes.
You're actually working with his company now.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the background. I mean, it's mainly, you know, him. He's out there in front, and his honey Asia, and they're just doing a phenomenal job. So I'm really excited for them. It's onlinesalespro.com. You can go and look at it. We'll have links that Linda will have out there for you. But a phenomenal company that he is building and growing, and very proud of him. So he actually, you know, he went into the computer side. He was going for his criminal justice degree and decided he didn't want that. He wanted to follow his mama's footsteps. So that's what he did instead. So he's amazing on the computer, but he's a lot of it for him is self-taught too, which is amazing.
So you're nannying, you're getting married, but then we make some pretty big life changes to begin to take control of our destiny.
Yes.
In regard to coming home, being a work from home mom, finding your own in-home sales business. Can you walk us kind of briefly through that? How did that happen? And then we'll go into what are the things that you think that made you so successful in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you mind if I go back just a teeny bit, Linda? Because one thing I wanted to share with everybody was we didn't have money for our wedding.
Okay.
Okay. Is it okay if I share that part just real fast?
This is your story. You get to do it.
I want the audience to understand that the doors of opportunity are marked push. Nobody's going to open them for you. So you got to push them open or kick them down if you want to. You know, just get stubborn, kick it down because you can. The last four letters of AmerICAN are ICAN. You'll never see a T on the end. It's not AmerICAN. It's AmerICAN. So I was just putting that out there again for it to manifest. And then I said, God, just bring me whatever and I'll work hard and I'll earn my wedding dress because I found a wedding dress and I was going to get it. I was determined. And so an ad came on the radio to be an NBA cheerleader.
Oh, okay. Okay. I wondered how this all happened.
Yes. And I never cheered before in my life. And Vince looked at me, he goes, why are you going? You don't even do the splits or you can't even do a cartwheel or back flip or whatever. And I said, I don't know, God just keeps telling me to go, so I'm going to go. And I had a little dance experience from being with the Montfort singers and dancers, and they were brilliant, but I couldn't do all that stuff. I mean, never cheered before, ever. But I went, and guess what? They hired me. And you know what they said? The biggest lesson I learned that day was one of the number one judge that was judging, there was tons of people there. She said, you want to know why we picked you? And I said, I do, because I know I'm not as good as some of the people you didn't pick. She said, and she pointed, she said, you see this girl over here? She's brilliant. She's classically trained. I mean, she can do it all. But she has a stinky attitude. She thinks she's all that in a bag of chips. She said, what we love about you is your charisma. And anybody who has charisma and passion persuades, and we can teach you how to cheer.
Wow.
That's why we teach you. Isn't that something? And so when Vince saw that, he's like, oh my gosh. And he ended up actually being security for the squad. We were the Glitter Girls. We were with NBA, National Basketball Association, for the Kansas City Kings. They're now the Sacramento Kings. They moved from Kansas City. So I did that for 3 years. So that was awesome. And so got that job. And then I got a waitress job. And then I was a nanny. So I worked 3 jobs along with Vince working his, and he worked off duty in order for us to afford our wedding. So I wanted everybody to know that, because a lot of people, they look at where we are today, Linda, so we kind of taking them backstage, backdoor story. You know, you get to be your own boss. So I came up with this acronym for BOSS. And BOSS to me is boundaries, order, and structure equals simplicity.
Go through that again.
Boundaries. Oh, order, sorry. Order and structure equals simplicity.
I love that. I love that.
Because I need, my boundaries were I had to put in all those hours, and the structure, had to come in there. The order, the structure, all of that had to come together. And I was, again, when your why makes you cry.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think of everything that you've said so far that resonates with people who are successful. That why makes you cry. It's like, the carrot that's being dangled is not enough. There has to be a deep emotional need.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily money. There's a deep emotional need. And for you, it was to help your mom. For me,
Right.
it was to help my parents. There has to be something above and beyond.
Right.
It's just to prove to somebody, maybe that hasn't believed in you, that it's like, I can do this. So, but that is so powerful. So powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you going back to mom, because I don't want to forget to mention this, is that she met her boyfriend in the United States.
I forgot that part of your story.
Oh my goodness, those two, they met at church, and Howard was so amazing to her. And she said, because my goal was that the second half of her life would be the best part of her life. And it was. She said it was the happiest she'd ever been in her whole life. And when he passed, then mom passed shortly after. And but it was amazing. So she spent about almost 16 years with us, on and on. Yeah. So that part of that dream became a reality. But
it also goes to prove that your dream, a person's dream, not just Gillian's dream, but a person's dream, is other people's dreams are attached to yours. Right. And rising waters lifts all boats. And so when you push through the obstacle, when you decide, I'm going to go after this dream, there's a whole lot of people watching. And those people who are watching are going to be dragged into that. Just like they're dragged into negativity, they're also dragged into success, into bigger thinking. And
yes, Linda, that's powerful. Yes. And may I mention that you are one of those people that I hung out with, because you become like the people you hang with, or you surround yourself with. And, if they're negative and they're dumping on you, then it's very easy for your dream to just
disappear. Okay, we've got about 15 minutes. Okay. There's so many great lessons that you're giving our audience today about the power of remaining standing and what it truly takes. And, I always love that part of your story where you go, the last 4 letters of American is I can. Okay. I can do this. And we don't hear that enough anymore. We need to hear it a lot more, but it's because we stopped saying it and we need to come back and say it again. Okay.
Amen.
All right, let's go on.
Okay. Well, okay. So let me back up. I'm rewinding in my head. Have you all ever done that? Like, I have to rewind up. Okay. So after we got married, let's talk about it. After we got married, of course, I wanted a family too. But in between that, went to college and ended up in systems operations. So I ran IBM System 36s. So I got a real job. Vince sent me to college. He worked off duty so I could go and do that. And so I ended up with a great job. I loved my job. In the interim, we had Vince Jr., and he did not like daycare. He would cry when I dropped him off, cry when I pick him up. So I looked at Vince one day and I said, you know what? I've got to find something where I can work out of the house. And he goes, well, I don't know what you're going to find. Now, y'all remember back in those days, we didn't have a computer that we could Google different kinds of jobs. There was no YouTube. There was no podcast. There was none of this. I mean, we had pagers. You remember the pagers? Yeah, we had a pager. Yeah. That's it. That's all we had. So again, I just, I stop, pause, and pray when I have something significant in my life that's either going on or that I want to manifest into my life. So be careful what you think about, because what you think about, you bring about. That's another powerful thing. So I was in the restroom at a Christmas party, and I heard, now This is so crazy. Some of you think this is crazy. So I was in the restroom. We were all in our stalls. I was with my friend telling her how I hated my job now because I needed to be with Vince. I really liked my job, but hate is a very strong word. So let's just say it wasn't convenient anymore.
Right.
That's a better word.
That's
Better
it.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this woman overheard me. And, you know, as we do, girls, ladies, when we're in the restroom, that's where we solve all our problems. And guys, we talk about you. And so she overheard me, Linda, and she said, I have the perfect job for you. Said, meet me at the sink. Total stranger. Total stranger. Now, another little nugget you could write down is a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. She gave me all the information I needed. I came running out of the restroom, told Vince I found the perfect job in the restroom. Yeah. He was not impressed. He's like, you are so desperate, Gillian. You cannot do that. So he hadn't, no. He said, no. But this girl was persistent. She knew I had a need. And when your purpose is clear, the price is never too high. When your purpose is unclear, the price will always be too high. This woman, Linda, she was like you. Linda is the most persistent, on purpose person I've ever met, ever. You are. You're such. Like I put Linda like way up on a pedestal because she's changed so many lives with her choices. You know, that changed me even. So in the interim, this girl was so smart and so purposeful and so clear with her choice. She picked me. She said, when is your husband going to work? And I said, well, he goes to work tonight. She goes, great, I'll come over. So she came over and she convinced me I needed to start an in-home business.
So as we're kind of wrapping this up here, let's think in broader terms about your entire life, because there's a pattern here of you identifying a problem, a situation, an obstacle, and not A, giving up, B, finding a way around it, or being willing to do whatever the price is to make it happen. So when you look at your entire career of success, and then later on some pretty severe health issues that you've had to deal with in the past, decade, yes. Could you kind of like summarize like some of those things that it's like, I mean, because you've given the audience so many nuggets today into the thinking of a person who's still standing when the smoke clears. What would be some of the biggest takeaways that you would say, this is the things that made me successful and helped me handle severe medical issues?
Wow, that's deep, Linda. I told y'all she's a deep thinker. Purposeful. As a matter of fact, I wrote a few things down so I wouldn't forget, Linda, to close this out. And for me, it was, well, there's 10 principles, but I'm not going to go through all of them. They can get the CD. We'll give them a link. But there are certain principles for you to live your AmerICAN dream. Lou Holtz, one of my favorites, he was the coach for the Fighting Irish, right? Famous football team, college team. So everyone needs 4 things in life. And I got to thinking about this and I thought, this is exactly it. So number 1, we need something to do. Something to do. So you're not just sitting around. You need something to do. So if you're retired, you better find something to do. Yes. Number 2 is somebody to love. Somebody to love. Somebody to give you a hug. If you get 5 hugs a day, you will live longer. Yes. That's a scientific fact. Number 3, somebody to believe in you. And number 4, something to hope for. He went on to really summarize it for me, Linda, because, I have been thinking about that lately. Like, if I was to summarize everything, and he quoted this, and I thought, that's it. Because Lou is a great speaker, and he went on to say Martin Luther King made one of the most significant speeches of all time. We'd all agree with that. It was huge. And what was it? I have a dream. I have a dream. Now, he didn't say he had a strategic plan. He did say he had a dream.
Yeah.
So he was clear about it, and it was backed up with a strategic plan.
Right.
So I would say my life has been periods of very significant moments in time with very much a strategic plan.
Yeah.
Um,
But it all started and it all stayed because you had a dream.
Yes.
Now, your dream was kind of teenagerish in the beginning. I think I want to get American, meet a guy, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, but behind that, that's the cool thing about dreams is how not to dismiss it, because that dream led to the next dream, which led to the next dream, which led to you fulfilling all of these things by bringing your mom to America and giving your mom the best half of her life. It all started way back in Ireland with a dream.
With a
Didn't
dream.
pay money. You didn't really know how it was going to play out.
Exactly.
That came later.
It came later. Yeah.
That came later. And, you know, just like the 4 things you just gave us, you know, people have to have something to believe in, something to love, but something to hope for. And so one of the things that I think are going to be, because my last speaker, which you may not even know, the whole thing, his entire website, his entire radio show is Hope is Here. That's the whole thing, where it's like, when you lose hope, you lose everything. And so I do think this thread of all the people who are really left standing to inspire people, even though it should have knocked them down, it should have been their demise, is they had hope.
Exactly.
And that kept them going.
Absolutely. You know, we're either growing or we're dying. You know?
People have run out of paper taking notes from you today, Jill.
You know, and to me, my goal each day, everyone, is to learn something new. I will not let a day go by unless I've learned something new. You know, so we can act or we can procrastinate. And, you know, procrastination is the thief of time. So,
and I think, you know, the thing also, you guys, you're listening to someone today who has been retired for several years, but is on to the next adventure. And, you know, this image that at least people our age grew up with retirement is you just get to do nothing. You get to have fun, which nothing fun about doing nothing. Like the number one thing Lou said was, you got to have something to do. I did have to giggle right there because I have counseled so many women who are like, oh my gosh, my husband has retired. I think I'm going to lose my ever loving mind. Like, well, your husband needs to find something to do.
Yes. Yes. I've already had that discussion with Vince.
Well, you guys, Gillian, thank you so very, very much for being my guest. And not only today did you just reignite why I love you so much and brought back all of those emotions from all the times I've heard you speak from the stage, but you have ignited in my audience today that hope and that fight and that grit that it takes for the American dream. So I thank you so very, very much today.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's an honor to be on your podcast, Linda. I just absolutely adore you. Thank you so much for all you've done for my life and for my mom and extended family.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'm going to just remind everyone, we're in the middle of a series. When the smoke clears, be the one left standing. And so I hope you have enjoyed our episode today. Be sure to comment and to share. Your name will be entered into a drawing. If you are not getting the weekly episodes emailed to you, head on over to lindatoupin.com. On your phone, it's in the upper left-hand corner. On your computer, it's on the upper right-hand corner. They'll be emailed to you every episode. Some of you said, Linda, I signed up, but I'm not getting them. Well, we live in the age of high security. It is a two-step system, and you will need to go find me. I'm probably sitting over there in your spam or your junk or your Gmail promotions tab, and you have to find me and click another button. But anyway, you guys, you're the best. I appreciate you so much for sharing this day with us, and go out and make it a wonderful day. Remember, I am where I am by the choices I am making or allowing others to make for me. Have a great day, everyone.